Namaste, everyone. I'm going to give you Kundalini Yoga for this Easter period, this magical day that we have, right? And happy Easter. And for this particular healing session, we're going to do something at the end that is quite interesting, right? Something that's quite special and rare. So you will need a clear glass of water, right? So I'm using my clear measuring cup and have filled with water. And then you also need an egg, right? An egg, right? An egg. So this is a Peruvian tradition, right? Peruvian, oh my tongue tied, Peruvian healing modality that we are going to use, right? It's a very special, rare tradition that you will not find in many ways on the internet. And this is something I learned a part of a society of women, right? A sort of secret society, you could say, of women, right? Women all over the world sharing their cultures, sort of traditions, their healing modalities, right? So this belongs to Peruvian healing modality that involves using an egg to clear out the energy, the aura, and then also you will crack the egg, put the egg in the water, right? And you will do like an energy reading or an aura reading, right? Just by looking at the egg, right? And kind of also clearing. It's a very sacred practice of clearing out any sort of energetic knots, scars, tangles, debris that you may have, right? So it's very, very purifying. The egg itself, the properties of the egg is so healing for the energy, the aura, right? This egg has energy inside of it. It has a lot of healing properties inside, right, inside this egg. So connecting that with the energy field, we're going to kind of pull out anything in the body, the energy body, anything in the 10 bodies, right? We could connect with the radiant body, the neutral mind, the positive mind, negative mind. You know, with the soul body, the subtle body, the pranic body, right? We're going to connect with all these sort of bodies and kind of pull out and put into this egg anything that is like debris, like plaque, right? See if you have any debris, any plaque, any blockages, right? That can show up as fears, anxieties, that can show up as sort of stagnant energy, you know, any sort of ruts, any sort of these kinds of blockages that we may have in the energy that's creating a sort of low energy or fatigue or feeling of being drained, right? We're going to kind of clear that out so you can have a more circulation of chi throughout the 10 bodies, right? Which is going to make you feel more vital, renewed. It's going to make you feel more creative, and it's just going to create a clear passage for the Kundalini energy to move through, right? And that's really what we want. We want a clear channel, a clear pipeline for the Kundalini energy to move through, right? So the Kundalini energy, it gets kind of caught in these sort of, these squares in our body, right? Which are like rooms with no doors or windows, and the Kundalini is just kind of stuck there, right? And then we start to feel over time worn down. We start to get caught in a memory. We start to become very sympathetic, and then kind of, there, staring at the wall, staring at a past thing, dwelling, these kinds of things, right? Because there's like a box in our energy field. And we know boxes, right? The squares can represent challenges. And when we look at like astrology, right? The sort of squares, it can represent a sort of a challenge, right? To your evolution, right? It's a challenge for breakthrough, right? In all of these sort of squares, these sort of that we have in our energy field, where it's a little of a challenge, right? Whatever that may be for you in an area of your life, right? Because everybody has different sort of challenges. Some people, the flow of wealth is like clear, but then the flow of love is like kind of squared, and it's not as a clear direction to get there, right? And those sort of squares represents our sort of our evolution. I see it as what we're evolving. Our sort of, you could say, the challenges that are to give us strength, right? So to help us kind of smooth out those sort of challenges, kind of open up the flow, right? The river, right? Because we can create dams. We can build up dams, right? What is a dam? Like a beaver dam, right? To a river, right? What does it do? It kind of stops the flow of the water, and we create dams as human beings, right? That we literally stop a body of water from flowing into an ecosystem, right? To prevent, flooding and all these kinds of things, right? And we can do that in our own sort of flow, in our own sort of creativity and our sexuality. We create these dams, right? Where we basically create these blocks, right? These barriers, right? And that could be due to fear, that could be due to anything, like a memory that, it caused us to be very tense, rough, very tight, right? And that sort of stiffness has created this sort of inability to move in a new way, right? So it creates like a dam, so the river wants to flow into the ecosystem, right? You need that river in the ecosystem, right? Because it gives it nourishment. So sometimes, when we don't have the flow, we're too tight, we're too rigid, we create this dam in the mind and the energy and the emotions, sexuality. What happens is our ecosystem, which is our aura, right? Our auric field, our egg, right? Our golden egg, right? We all have this golden egg, like the golden goose egg, right? That is our magic. That's the golden goose egg, is I see it as like your Sachic record, right? Where, the golden goose egg is seen as like the treasure of all treasure, right? Because it represents the knowledge of the universe. And the golden goose egg is your aura, right? Which represents your Sachic record, your access to knowledge of knowledge, right? The access to the ancestors that are on the left side of the body, the ancestors, right? The ancestors, the earth, the elemental sort of realm, right? The knowledge of the earth, the knowledge of the ancestors, the knowledge of history, right? The knowledge of the time, right? Traveling through time. And then we have in the golden goose egg that you're seated in, right? We have to the right, which is we have the angels, the masters, the teachers, the shamans, right? These sort of scholarly beings who teach us in our life, either teaching us piano or teaching us how to do basketball or teaching us how to write a book or whatever it is, right? That we meet in our life, right? And then behind us, we could say that we have knowledge of where we've been, right? Our past decisions, past relationships, that gives us knowledge. But we're not there to hump over like Frumpty Dumpty, lose our balance because we're too caught in the past. We're meant to open up the shoulders, open up the heart, and kind of, like let that past stuff go, right? So we become like Frumpty Dumpty. What is it? The Notre Dame fella. What is his name? Hector from Notre Dame. I don't even know, but the Frumpty Dumpty kind of thing. That a lot of times we can lose our balance because of our past, right? The past. So we lose our balance. So then when we try to move forward or you try to go backward, we're just kind of this hunched over position, right? That makes us tense and then irritable and then like moody and like because of our past. So you see people have that kind of frumpty, grumpy, sort of ruthless type of, they're like Frumpty Dumpty type of thing with their shoulders way over, right? So you gotta shake that off, and that's about clearing the trauma of the childhood and all of the stuff of the past, right? So that you have a clear open chest, the spine, the back is nice and smooth. You're not doing this stuff, right? Because you can definitely connect people who have this sort of thing, this back position. You can definitely connect it to the past and holding on to something of the past, like something of past resentment, past trauma, whatever it is that has caused them to feel very insecure, very uptight, very fearful, right? Because people who tend to like close their heart, when you round your shoulders forward like this, you're closing off your heart. So that has to do with fear, When you try to close off your heart like that by basically doing that, it's because of fear. You have some fear that could be triggered from an event, a catastrophe, something in the childhood. You didn't get what you wanted, inner anger, whatever that is, right? And people over time build that up like a big dam, and they get sort of blocked, right? And then they lose their balance, and then they kind of, they falter forward, right? With all this baggage of the past, right? They kind of like fall forward into their future with all of this luggage, behind them, right? And then you don't feel too good about that, right? We don't feel too good about that, right? It's like going through the airport and you got all this luggage. It's like, it's just like, it's a pain in the ass, right? You got to check the stuff. Oh, it's too heavy. You got to put it in different bags because it's too heavy. It's only 80 pounds maximum, right? And it's in when you're going multiple planes, right? Because you're going to, you're going for distance. It's just not fun, right? That's the thing, is being in like something new, a new career, a new love. You got all this luggage, right? So you got to check all that. You got to, figure out how to get all that organized and how to move all of that. And it's just, right? It's just not as adventurous, you could say, right? When you just kind of go and clean, right? Going like, okay, this is what I need. I don't need all this extra stuff, right? It's a lot more lighthearted. It's a lot more optimistic, a lot more playful, a lot more youthful when you see people who don't have much luggage, right? It means that they trust the universe. They feel taken care of, right? They don't need to bring their whole house with them to feel safe going to Paris or something like that, right? So, and then the forward, right? So again, think of your egg, right? You have north, south, east, west, right? You think of your egg, or your aura. You're inside your egg, your aura. And think of to the right of you is the teachers, right? Can represent the father figure, people who taught you lessons, how to ride a bike, how to get a job, that kind of thing, how to go to school, right? And then think what to the left of you, right? In your egg, you can see that's about the ancestors, that's about the mother, right? That's about, you can say, healing modalities, how to love yourself, how to comb your hair, how to take a bath, right? It's that kind of thing, self-care, how to love someone, how to be loved, right? Behind you, the past, right? Everything you did in the past and how that's affected your heart position today, right? So really when we look at the back, we're looking about the heart and how expansive, how youthful the heart is. So if we're doing this, doing that, it just shows that can be something unresolved with the past, right? Because we want this to be luminous, because the heart is basically the seed in the egg, the seed, the center point, kind of the focal point of the egg is that sort of the heart, right? And then ahead of you is the knowledge of the future, which is your talents, your gifts, your aspirations, your drive, your perseverance, right? Everything that has to do with you showing up into the world, and in the way that you take care of the self, and the way that you respect the self in the eyes of the people and family, right? It's you in the spit, you feeling you putting that forward, walking into the love of yourself, walking into the world and the venture of the world, right? And think of that as like the north, south, east, west, right? And that's all happening in your egg, right? Your egg, which is your aura. You are the golden goose, right? The golden goose is your Akashic record, right? The knowledge that's coming from multiple areas of you, right? We think of the Eastern, right, of knowledge, right? The Eastern knowledge, we think of very rooted spirituality. We think of the Western knowledge as well as very rooted, but as more father, has become, patriarchal. Where we think of the East as having, again, and there's a sort of revolution, right? There's a sort of polarization, right, that happens, right, when it comes to the father putting yourself in a stronghold position and then the matriarch, which is like putting yourself in a deep sort of spiritual ritual, right? So, and then we talk about, up and down, right? The movement of the pipeline from what is below you to what is above you, right? Below you is about the ancestral building blocks that build you up into the epigenetic broadcast that is you today, right? And then everything above you represents the calling, right? The calling of you, the creativity of you, the incarnational revelation and evolution of you as a light being, or as a soul, right? In connection to the other masters who basically have created a platform for you to rise up, right, into higher incarnations, right? Create like a platform, like Guru Ram, the House of Guru Ram Das is a platform. You can go into that platform and you can experience a more elevated incarnation of you, and it continues, right? So